Alright, here goes nothing. Um, Seems to be holding pretty steady. Uh, Live track Wi-Fi nominal. Audio mixing nominal. Suppose you better put this on the, suppose you better put this on the, uh-oh. Suppose you better put this on the, uh-oh. We'll mute that, we'll make sure we can't hear ourselves. Alright, well, I guess we'll start with the tweet with the, liftoff announcement. We'll attach our tweet there, make sure we've got a GIF. A classic though. Yeah, let's go with that. Alright, well, welcome everybody. This is the very first trial stream, I suppose, of the Driven franchise. The idea is to effectively screenwrite. I'm working my way up to doing a master's program at some point next year. So between now and then, I'm going to be doing nothing but screenwriting for a good deal of that. And I thought I may as well throw it online, see what we can get away with. Today's stream will only be sort of a 30-minute one, just to see how we can do. Like I said, not all the details are ironed out. The microphone still needs adjustment. Software for things like overlays and widgets for things like chat, donations, and all the rest of it. Like I said, I do not have this figured out, but I put it off long enough. So if you do put anything in chat, I don't think I'll see it, or at least I won't know. I don't yet know how to see it, so I don't yet know how. Whoa. Easy. Oh, it's like a lovely little bit of Inception. Alright, well, we'll just leave that window open there and see how that goes. Because that will continue on and on and on forever. Very interstellar. So, yeah, it's going to be sort of a two-prong thing. As you see from my desktop, we're going to have two folders, which will be our main thing. Mission control, which will be for our ideation, which is where we come up with all of our ideas. We play around in the space of any kind of genre, aesthetic, just about anything that could lead to a potential script. And this will also be the planning, the redrafting, and just laying out some of the foundations for the scripts that we will get on to write. Screenwriting will obviously be where we save our scripts. I'm presently using the trial of Fade-In, which has been a fantastic software to use. Again, like I said, I do not have the finances to buy the full version, but the moment I do, we'll be upgrading, we'll be moving up on the world. So yeah, short 30-minute stream. Let's see how much damage we can do. And last double check just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Oh yeah, this will be our this will be our ideation, I suppose, document. So just about everything that can be thought about here will be, or all the notes, so things that I'll learn. So effectively, scene titles, how to write action, dialogue, characters, all the things I kind of know from instinct, and the things that I've also been taught, I'll write down in a kind of comprehensive document to hopefully help any kind of viewer who wants to get into screenwriting or is having issues with it. For instance, like how to format properly a scene heading. And in fact, that would be a good place to start. Scene headings. So from my experience and from what I've learned from this application, because it does a lot of it for you, it will always either be interior or exterior. You gotta make sure you capitalize those. There's also interior/exterior, which I've seen, but that's currently formatting that into action, so I want to make sure that's interior exterior. So I don't actually know how to use these yet, or at least this particular one just yet. But that's why we're here to learn. And the way I've kind of done it previously, taking a drink, the way I've done it previously is that you work sort of from the larger scale in. So if we were going to say do a cubicle in a library. Let's say interior. Say Apollodorus. Fudge the spelling on that. Apollonius? Yeah, sure. Apollonius Library. 5th floor. Or call that, I don't know. Yeah, actually no, 5th floor. Which we'll have written as the silent floor. Cubicle. And we'll have, I don't know, make it evening. Yeah, so you kind of work in through specifics, so like establishment, particular floors if it matters, and then where exactly in the interior space. But the idea is to focus, no matter where you put your scene heading, it has to be where the action takes place. And that kind of goes the same for vehicles. So if you say like interior, oh, it's formatting into action. So the way I've done sort of vehicles before is if it's where the action takes place, I think I've done it previously like this. Interior, let's say 4x4 Toyota. Not that that's going to particularly matter. This is maybe where it comes into the interior-exterior play, because you, depending on where they are, can affect. So if the action or if the place they're driving through or the location of the car is important, you could include it in the title. So interior Toyota, 4x4 Toyota, let's say, Mojave Desert. I'm guessing that that's, that's how I would do it, but that's where we're going to come to the second problem with this. 4x4 Toyota, Mojave Desert, midday. Why not? So let's just get some clarification. Screenwriting. How to write scene headings. We'll just double check. We'll double back to our live feed. That seems to be working out. We're not going to inception that anymore. We usually just take the first link and we'll see what that's, ask Doctor format a crash course in writing scene headings. Yeah, that I would say that's the basics. Pardon me. Let's have a look. Interior Jim's house day, interior kitchen. Yeah, he's getting into sort of action here. Continuous and same. Special scene headings. We're after specifics, so I don't know. Chicken Ranch day. And that's for flashback sequences, so hasn't really explained much of what we're trying to do here, so we'll just try a different one. Story Sense. I remember this website. Yeah. Dawn, dusk, later. Yeah, the time of day modifier is always, I think it's necessary for just about every scene, because you need to know exactly where in which this scene is taking place. It's entirely in relation to the scene previous and into the scene following. So there's not likely to be a scene that does not have a time of day. So it would either be day, midday, morning, evening, later, continuous, so at the same moment. So I think you might find a lot of that in Tarantino scripts. If there's like simultaneous events sort of occurring, you'll get like similar scenes. So similar scenes taking place relatively, not too far from the same, from the previous scene, but it's a continuous thing. So you might see actually bits of the previous scene in the new scene, but it's from a different perspective, so you can have simultaneous. Interior apartment, living room, exterior market, Rome. There you go. Yeah, that's kind of what you're after. Giving names to establishments is also, you have to put that in quotes. Oh, that's excellent. So actually, based on this, we should put that in quotations if it's got a proper name. It's interesting, I wrote a script recently based at the Rio Carnival, which is known in the city as the Sambadrome. which I don't actually know if that's a proper noun, if that's like the title of the venue, or if that's just like sort of a basic noun in the same way that you would refer to like a stadium or, you know, an apartment complex. So that was one I actually may be an exception to this rule, but we'll find out. I mean, I did quite well for the marking that I got on that script, so I'm going to say that's, you know, trust whatever I got there. Double back just to retry Twitch. Yeah, I'll also be streaming on YouTube later on as well, because I find it's just slightly more accessible, because my impression of Twitch was you have to donate or you have to pay for some degree of the service, which I don't think is true, or at least I don't know. I've never felt a compunction to donate to anyone, so I'm just going to generally leave it where it is. So with that in mind, let's begin. Interior. Derelict. Theater. Oh, it's the American version. Theater house. Atrium? Is that right? Is that the name of the... Hold on. By the main hall. Main hall. Center stage. Center stage. Day. Skinny... Oh, no, we don't want that in capitals. Skinny man in rough clothes stands stands at the tip of the stage. The windows the windows half boarded up. Shed cuts of light into the dimly lit hall. I mean, you want to avoid reusing the words hall because we already know where we are. So basically, the more you can tell about the more information you can impart about the location in the scene heading, the better, because you want to avoid repeating information here. Now, for this, it's derelict, so we don't need to do too much to let them know that it's, we don't go into details that the paint is peeling off or that, half the floorboards are sticking up. We know that it's derelict, so already whoever's going to be reading this, be it the actors, producers, whoever, they'll know fairly immediately what a derelict theatre house will look like. So for this particular detail, we want to just see how lit the room is. The windows half boarded up shed cuts of light into the dimly lit hall. Specifically over the mount. It's very dramatic for no particular reason. This is also another trick you can do for action if you want to... they did this a lot in the horror film A Quiet Place, where they used age space and action to highlight the impact of a particular action. So I think one page out of the entire script is used up entirely for, I think, one phrase, and that's a twig cracks or something. And the idea is of that, or at least being creative with that, is to highlight the impact of that singular twig cracking, which is very good because it's a very audibly, it's a stimulating film, and that kind of creativity allowed the script to stand out, but B, immediately translates to the actors, directors, to anybody using this as a blueprint, exactly how impactful that twig cracking is going to be, and exactly what kind of presence that singular action is going to have in to the rest of the story. We're going to get a lot of save documents here, so I'm going to say the first, and we're just going to save that in our screenwriting document there. So we'll hopefully stop getting those. As part of the trial thing, we're going to get prompts to buy the full version after we hit 10 pages. So we want to kind of go ahead and... Well, I want to go ahead and buy this as soon as possible. But for now, if we end up writing scripts that exceed 10 pages, we're going to have to deal with that. Skinny man in rough clothes stands at the tip of the stage. The windows, half boarded up, shed cuts of light into the dimly lit hall, specifically over the man. He is alone. It's also important to note, and this is something that is crucial to writing scripts, is that it is a visual medium. And I'm actually going to write that down in here. Screenwriting is a visual medium. And the idea there is to effectively write only, or to mainly focus on what you can see. So, for instance, if you want to write about things that you can see, all of this is stuff that you can see. So the man, the clothes, the windows being boarded up, the light. You can't write, you know, he thinks his expression tells us he's thinking about his dead daughter, or something similar along the lines of he thinks, or just cutting it down, he thinks about his dead daughter, because we can't see him thinking. You know, we're gonna have to use something in the space to tell, you know, to show the audience, you know, that he had a daughter, she's passed on, and that is why he's in this particular situation. So he is alone. As much as it is a visual medium, I don't actually know the rules on writing audio, or the idea of, you know, I don't really know how you can write audio, and I'm also not particularly confident in writing flashbacks. So you know what, we're just gonna give this our best shot. There's no sound in the hall beyond the creaking. Oh. Stage boards. There's no sound in the hall beyond the creaking stage boards. And a pigeon occasionally going backstage, which I quite like. Silence is slowly subdued by the gathering whispers of children. Around the man, an unnatural around the man, an unnatural warm light begins to form. The whispers get louder. Just double back to check on this. Oh, yes! My man got it just in time. Hey! So around the man, a natural warm light begins to form. The whispers get louder. Let me see. We got maybe 10 minutes on this trial run, so we'll just keep it going. Around the man, a natural warm light begins to form. The whispers get louder. The ghost... sorry. Yeah, why not? The ghost of a scarecrow begins to materialize next to the man. He finally catches on to the lights and whispering turns to face the scarecrow. It's him. Younger, livelier. Oh, livelier. He's it's him, younger, livelier. He's in costume. The voice of a young girl. The voice of a young the voice of a young girl rises. Sorry, slight distraction off screen there. The voice of a young girl rises to cut through the vague whispers. What should we have her? We'll just call her young girl for now, and that should autofill for the rest of this. I don't know. Despite I was in this, I don't know in which order they meet. Of course, I think I might be slowly angling towards the Wizard of Oz potentially, but then again, I don't know what the copyright laws on this particular thing is. The voice of a young girl rises to cut through the vague whispers. Let's say, or at least we're actually, no, we're going to change that. We're not going to do Wizard of Oz directly, but we're going to do something fairly similar. Ghost of a young girl springs on stage. Ridiculous, scruffy toy dog in tow. Man, I don't want to get into talking about a glimmer of recognition, because then that's going back on what I said earlier. Let's see. Let's see. The man's both the man and his ghost share same glimmer recognition. So we're establishing pretty immediately that she is of importance to him. And having them do the same thing side by side would be quite good. It would be visually at least quite interesting. But what I haven't established yet is whether these, what this is effectively is a memory. So meaning that what I'm playfully using as ghosts in quotation marks are, these are just the man's memories. So of course he cannot interact with them and they cannot interact with him. But I need to establish that sooner to make sure that when we get to this point and I continue to type on, that I'm not, the rules have been established and that I'm not continuing to confuse whoever it is that is reading the script. So whispers get louder. The ghost of a scarecrow. He finally catches onto the light and whispers. He turns to face the scarecrow with lively. He's in costume. The voice of a young girl. A memory. There we go. Just that little phrase there can just be enough to tip the direction of a scene to make sure that anyone who does come across this, yourself included, can just stay on the right track and follow where we're taking this. The voice of a young girl rises to cut through the vague whispers. She's going to say, I'm presuming this is American. It's like, come on, Danny. The ghost of a young girl springs on stage, a ridiculous scruffy toy dog in tow. Both the man and his ghost share the same glimmer of recognition. And I don't know, I think this is going to be sort of it's going to be corny and slightly American, so we're going to go Scarecrow Ghost, because since the man does not have, that's a Scarecrow. Scarecrow, since the man doesn't have a name yet, we don't really know what to call these individuals just yet, so we're just going to go with the, exactly who they are in this scene. Doubling back here. First time chat from a viewer. We're going to show it just a little bit of appreciation. Let's see. There we go. He goes for young girls, brings on stage a ridiculous scruffy toy dog in tow. Both the man and his ghost share the same glimmer of recognition. So it's corny, it's American, it's slightly Wizard of Oz. And then what would we have? Let's just have. Just a vague mumbling. Why not? Where would we take that? So he's saying the scarecrow shuffles, trying to be seen. Yeah, we're trying to get this young girl and her dog to see this scarecrow. Let's say the young girl trots right past him stage. The scarecrow, frantic. Let's say pulls his post left and right until he unsticks. That's not a word. Until he is freed from the ground and falls on his face. The young girl pensively returns to the stage. Approaches the scarecrow. Mister? Are you okay then? I don't know. Like I said, it's first drafting, so it's not going to be like stellar. See you okay then? The scarecrow continues to mumble. Let's say, the young girl kneels by him, removes a flimsy scrap of burlap from its mouth. Scarecrow gasps. Let's have a look. So technically, actually, if we're calling him a scarecrow ghost, we should have registered as not registered, but her written as a ghost, because she's technically, that is what she is here. Oh, every now and again it'll get away from you. No one would ever find me. And since this is, we're not turning this into a full scene, or at least this is not going to be like this is obviously mise en scène, so in the middle of the action, you know, we found him sort of in the midst of his story, so I can't see this. I think this would need a lot more work to be a fully fleshed out and effective first page, so I think if this was going to be, I think we'd need to go back to mission control and figure out who this man is and where he is. But for now, we're just doing this off the cuff. It's fully improvised, and it's not, you know, it's not fleshed out as sophisticated as it would be, you know, had I planned out the 3-point structure and who he is and why he's here. So this is just for fun, just straight away, you know, writing it, making it up as we go, which is, you know, the magic of cinema. The final words. I thought no one would ever find me, which I think is actually poignant, because considering the fairly desperate situation we find him in. The final words. Echo as the light and ghosts. I'm trying to think of sort of watery sort of effect where they just kind of evaporate. That's what I'm thinking. Evaporate suddenly, turning the scruffy man to the darkness of the empty theater. Because that's something that you can very easily lose sight of, particularly with it, you know, if you're doing your sort of improv, making sure that you kind of follow a singular thread, because you can go on all these sort of tangents, but it can very much become a catacomb, and it's very easy to lose sight of the initial, you know, where you started. So always having that, you know, at the back of your mind to make sure that you return, if you do go on a tangent, to, you know, where you end up. Because 1917 as a film is an example that does this very well, where the whole time it's just following this single thread. They just have, you know, they have to get to, I think it's Acoust, before dawn the following day. So that's all they do. They just follow that single thread. You know, and granted, you could argue things like, you know, the tripwire and the underground bunker, and, you know, and the crashed pilot are sort of tangents, but both of them ultimately follow that thread. So you've got to make sure that it's, you know, because if you start on a tangent and then suddenly this whole flashback becomes the focus, or we stay here too long, or this, you know, takes place as a, you know, this sort of usurps the story that we were initially writing, it's going to confuse people and it's going to get frustrating. And a way you can do that is then you employ flashbacks, which is something I think Deadpool does quite effectively, because there's one or two laced around the main story to make sure that, you know, I think they do it in both films to make sure that, you know, the audience is aware of the current situation, because where do we, you know, we find both of them in the midst of action. So where do we find... In Deadpool 2, he's on, you know, those drums of fuel, and they just break the fourth wall to say, hey, you need to find out how I got here. And then we cut straight into, you know, the flashback of, you know, Wade's life post Deadpool 1, which is great. In the first one, I think we start with the fight on the freeway, if I remember rightly. When he's counting down the bullets, and like, you know, to find out why he's doing this and where he's going, why he runs a guy through with two swords or something like that. There's a couple in there, so it chops up that freeway fight to the introduction of Colossus in between his origin story of, you know, who he is, what he does, how he meets Vanessa, how he ends up with cancer and superpowers. So, you know, that's a nice little effective way you can meander around the story, fill out some screen time, and, you know, flesh out a little bit of the, you know, mise-en-scène explanation. Yeah, that's all seems to be running smoothly. The final words echo as the light and ghosts evaporate suddenly, returning the scruffy man to the darkness of the empty theater. So, for context, or at least from what we haven't said directly, and this is part of iceberg theory, is, you know, what you can see is only, you know, the very tip of the iceberg for what is actually going on underneath. So, subtext, he's remembering being on stage with a young girl, both being actors. I haven't actually established an audience in here, so actually I might pull flatten his face. The audience of the invisible audience. So yeah, they're obviously on stage, they're performing. There is a young girl who comes on with a sort of a glimmer of recognition for both of them. And given what we were saying earlier about, you know, potentially deceased daughter, though it's not directly said, she obviously means something to her, and it's saying young girl. Obviously, she sort of puts her age at around 10, so like early teens or late single digits. Because like, or at least girl to me is like, my age range of girl is like 1 through 12. And then if I'm going to write a teen, it's 13 through 19. And then you go into things like young adult or, you know, young man, young woman, that sort of thing. So this is sort of, you know, I would say around about the age of 10. And hopefully that's sort of communicated through. So again, back to subtext, and this is where we see him. This is where he returns to. The idea is to, you know, subtextually, we're trying to show that his present situation is more dire, is more desperate, it's darker, there's something missing, a light is, you know, is no longer there. And that's where you can tell visually, again, like we said, so, you know, it's dark, it's boarded up, it's horrible, it's disgusting. We could also, if we wanted to get creative and say, like, this unnatural warm light begins to form, you could say that, you know, the stage where this, you know, this warm light is forming, you know, the planks are all, you know, the wood flooring is now all in uniform, it's clean. So I might actually do that now. Around the manner now natural light forms is form where it does, the dust is cleared, the stage floor is clean and uniform. It's also interesting that the focus of this, because we have the audience, so we have fallen flat on his face. The invisible audience there is just to say, is just to highlight this as a performance, but it also focuses exactly where his attention is for this particular memory. So it's obviously on the girl, and this just reinforces that it's not about the performance, it's not about the audience. What he's here to remember is her, and she is the focus of this. And again, this is all back to iceberg theory. So Scarecrow continues to mumble, the goodness, oh yes, this is still a thing. In other words, echo as the light and ghosts evaporate, suddenly returning the scruffy man to the darkness of the theatre. Another thing to consider is the camera position, exactly where we think, or where we're seeing this from. So as this sort of evaporates, I'm thinking, if I were to shoot this next shot, or the idea that I want to write, would be from potentially, if there's like sort of side stands or booths on the left and right, as is sort of the particular colonial style of theatre, perhaps inspired from the original European. So I'd say man is facing the back curtain, still in the same place. His shoulders, what would you say? Heave, I suppose. Shoulders heave down as he begins to sob. And this is a very sad opening script. I don't know why, but I think that it's obviously a little bit more emotionally evocative. And you know, I don't know why. It's just we've decided that he's having a real bad day. Man is facing the back curtain, still in the same place. His shoulders heave up and down as he begins to sob. It's hard to know where we should take him from here. He's obviously having a bit of a moment of vulnerability. He's missing someone. He's obviously, this is not a theatre that's open to the public. So where would we take him? Where would we take this scene? Much love from the chat there. It's very kind. The man's facing the back curtain, still in the same place. His shoulders heave up and down as he begins to sob. I think we're gonna just add an extra space to give this a little bit more kind of placement. Just to allow this moment to be still, because I'm gonna have this interrupted. Just very, in fact, I might give an extra space, because white space is a very important part of script to make sure. So this is a little busy, and I probably would cut this down in a few places when I go through the second draft. But having a lot of white space is something very good, because it's easier for then whoever it is you're pitching your script to read. His shoulders heave up and down as he begins to sob. He lowers himself to his knees. The stage boards crack and lift under his weight. Not to say that he is, you know, that he weighs a particular amount. It's just that his the condition of the stage is such that if you were to kneel on it, the boards would start to lift, which is, you know, further speaking to the disrepair that it's, you know, that it's in. But again, all subtext. Continues to cry. So we really want to just make sure that this is he's upset, and we, you know, want to give that the gravity and space that it needs before moving on to the next thing, because otherwise you're just going to shred through it and it's going to have no emotional impact whatsoever. Takes in of air and raises his head up to look at a hole in the roof. Actually, no. Let's flip that around. Let's say he raises his head to look at a hole. He takes in a large gasp of air as if he's about to scream. The theater doors clatter, shake. What's wrong with theater? Oh, that's theater. Oh, I hate using the American spellings. The theater doors clatter and shake. Stopping before he can. He scuttles. Didn't you say he scuttles to his feet? Yeah, he scuttles to his feet, which is nice, sort of audibly as well, because you can already hear sort of someone scuttling to their feet. Is, you know, he rises to his feet is sort of, can be any sound, but generally is quite quiet, or at least not interesting. He scuttles to his feet sort of suggests a bit of panic or recoil from all of this, which is good. He scuttles to his feet. The door shaking lowers. There are 3 loud thuds on the door. Now, what we know about sort of theater doors is, or at least the doors to the entrance to the main hall, are not directly onto the street, because obviously that would affect performance in terms of ambience, noise, and interruptions. So this is someone who, on the other side of the door, is stood in the lobby of this rundown theater. So I'm thinking maybe slightly Blade Runner-y, but you know, we're not too sure on that one just yet. He scuttles to his feet. The door shaking lowers. There are 3 loud thuds on the door. He stands there in silence. He wipes his cheek. Two more thuds. Let's say the man lowers himself off the stage, creeps up the main aisle, stepping over fallen chairs, and stepping over fallen torn chairs and planks. Yeah, planks. He reaches the. Reaches the half-shattered, boarded up all doors. There's a scuffling on the other side. He grips the what would you call it? He grips the like a brass handle or like a yeah, why not? He grips the brass handle. He takes a breath. He pulls. And that is probably where we're going to leave this. Or at least this particular scene, anyway. He grips the brass handle and takes a breath. He pulls. So we won't know who's on the other side of the door, and we don't know what necessarily is going to happen next. But I think for an improvised 2-page single scene, that's not half bad. As we've sort of covered a lot on the subtext, the character names, the way action can be written using white space, emphasizing, which I might actually pop into here. So as a visual medium, subtext is key. Improv is great. It's not that it's a necessarily good note, but I think it's key to writing, because I think if you overplan, you can get very stuck in it. So I think planning is good, but it never works out that way. The way you expect. So I think that's always an important philosophy just going in. It's a visual medium, subtext is key, improv is great. What else is important as a note to remember? Oh yeah, white space is crucial for pitching script. It means less words to read, which is actually a fun fact about the industry, is that people who approve scripts and read scripts and review scripts don't want to read scripts. They want it to be as easy as possible. And particularly when it comes to pitching, just presume that they are they're in the worst mood. Imagine they're hungover, ill, deeply in debt, severely stressed out, and late, and you're handing them a script to say, hey, here's my idea. Presume that they're in the worst possible mood to read your script. And if you work that on that assumption and you can still make it sound amazing, you're in for a killer. So yeah, making their life as easy as you possibly can and making their read as interesting as you possibly can is, that's the real key to kicking off. So yeah, so presume the reader of your script hates you and everything you've done. No. Presume the reader of your script is in the worst possible mood. Make their time easier and make your script interesting. It's easier said than done, but I think that that's a really good foundation upon which to build. Screenwriting is a visual medium, subtext is key, improv is great, white space is crucial, presume they're in the worst possible mood. And I think for our very first stream. 2 full pages, I think is a really good, good start. So I'm actually going to call this KINO, as the German word for, I think, cinema. So we have an earlier draft of that, which we're going to delete. But that's okay, because this, I think, as a name anyway, or at least at the very beginning, is I don't know. Calling it the first is just a throwaway title, so we're just gonna say, was that written in? Yeah, that's block title. So title is written in all caps. So I think the title should be in caps. Trust formatting. Formatting software is also crucial, I think, because it's fun being sort of like artisanal and sort of nomadic about, how you go about, you can teach yourself the whole thing from the ground up, and it's an excellent learning technique. But I think in the modern industry, if you want to do that, you better get on it learning fast, because if you don't, you want to do that and you take your time with it, you're going to get left behind fairly quickly. So my main piece of advice is get yourself a screenwriting software and work from that, and trust the formatting that comes with it. So yeah, we'll call it KINO, and we'll say it's written by Scrivener, aka me. And I think that just about wraps us up. For now, and hopefully for the future, thank you all so very much for watching. And I will hopefully see you all in the next stream. Later!